Hi, this is Miss Cindy from the Crown Point Community Library, and today I'm going to be bringing the library into your home with a snack idea. So I don't know if you've noticed all the fancy popcorn places that have been popping up around town. And it's just gourmet popcorn, because what they do is they take regular popcorn and they add lots of different flavors to it, and they have all these unique tastes. So I think some of these places say that they have like 250 flavors or over 100 flavors. So what I want to do today is I want to teach you how to take just plain regular popcorn. It can be microwaved, it can be stovetop, however you pop your popcorn at home, and then turn that into a gourmet treat. So I have two recipes that I'm going to share. I'm going to have made two batches of popcorn, and one we're going to do savory, which would be more, we're going to add flavors that we're going to add like cumin. We're going to do a buffalo ranch, so it's going to have some cumin, some dill, things like that in it. And then the other one we're going to do is sweet. We're going to make s'mores popcorn, and that one's going to have chocolate and marshmallows and graham crackers. So let me show you how we're going to get started. I am going to begin with my savory popcorn. So this is buffalo ranch. And what I do is I start with my popped popcorn. So you want to go ahead and pop your popcorn, and the recipe calls for approximately 12 cups of popped corn. You can use a little more if you want less flavor, and you can use a little less popcorn if you want a stronger sense of flavor. Okay, and then with that, so my popcorn is already popped and ready to go. And you want to make sure with this that when you do 12 cups of popcorn, you do it after it's popped, because a half a cup of popcorn is what comes of popcorn kernels is what comes in like those microwave pouches. So think about that, and that results in about, I don't know, 7 or 8 cups, I believe, of popped popcorn. So it's a huge difference. So make sure you pop your popcorn before you do your 12 cups. Secondly, you are going to need 4 tablespoons of butter melted. So I already went ahead and melted mine. And if you don't know how to find your measurements for butter, what you do is on the side of the butter packet, it has the marks for all the different tablespoons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I cut it off. 4 tablespoons actually is a half of a stick, which is a 1/4 cup of butter. And I went ahead and melted that, put that in my bowl. When you're melting butter in your microwave, you may want to put some type of cover over it. You might want to microwave it slowly, because if the butter gets too hot, it will pop and kind of just, it gets melted butter all over the inside of your microwave. And most parents don't really appreciate that. So clean up after yourself if that happens. It happens to me all the time. Just make sure you wipe it up, or just melt it very slowly, and then stir it around, and then put it back in just for another 5 or 10 seconds. Right, so I have my melted butter. The next thing, in order to get the buffalo flavor, we're going to add some type of hot sauce. So whatever brand of hot sauce you like, you're going to add that to your butter. And we just need 2 teaspoons. So I just need 2 teaspoons of this. So it's not a lot. So whatever type of hot sauce is your favorite, or whatever you have in your house, use that. And again, if you like things a little bit more spicy, you can add a little bit extra. If you like things not quite so spicy, then you can just maybe do 1 teaspoon. But that gives us our buffalo flavor. All right, so now I have that. So I have that mixed together. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour this over my popped popcorn. And what this is going to do is it's going to give my popcorn a surface that all my seasonings that I'm going to be adding next are going to stick to. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to that. So you have a couple options of how you want to do this. So I could just pour it right over the bowl. I got some gloves, so I would be nice and sanitary, and I could just take my hands and stick them in there and fluff it around. Or I'm going to be doing it this way, definitely for the s'mores popcorn. But the other thing you can do is you can put it onto a cookie sheet. So I have parchment paper, and parchment paper is not necessary, but it makes cleanup a little bit easier and helps it not to stick. So I just put a little bit of parchment on there. I can go ahead and dump some of my popcorn out. The key to this is making sure that all of my popcorn gets some of that butter so that the seasoning will stick to it. And then I'm gonna pour some over this, some over that. I'm going to, like I said, I have gloves. If I was doing this at home for my family, I would just wash my hands. But I'm going to be sharing this with some of the people that I work with here at the library. And I want to make sure that I'm being safe. So I just am mixing it around. Mix it around in your bowl. And again, the purpose is to get all of that buffalo sauce and butter onto my popcorn so that each piece will have a little bit of that flavor. And by using the cookie sheet, all I'm doing is just giving me more workspace to be able to mix it around. Because you can see, or you know, if I had a bigger bowl, it'd probably be easier. Or if you had like a big bowl that had a lid, you could put it in there and just even shake it. Is another option. But what I have here at the library is this bowl that's a little bit on the small side. So my next step is I'm going to add the seasonings. My gloves are kind of greasy, so I'm going to take them off for this part. I'm going to add my seasonings to that next. All right, so I don't want to put my seasonings into the bowl that I have my butter in, because all of my seasonings will stick in there because they're dry and this is wet. And so they'll stick to the bottom, and I don't want them to stick there. I want them to stick in here. So I'm going to mix those together in this plastic cup. You could use a small bowl, you could use a saucer or a small plate, but just somewhere to mix those. So I'm going to start with my dill. I need a half a teaspoon of dill, and this is going to give it that ranch flavor. All right, and if you didn't know this, when you're reading a recipe, if it has a lowercase t, then that means you use a teaspoon. If it has a capital T, that means you use a tablespoon. And a tablespoon is a lot more than a teaspoon, so you want to pay attention to that. All right, and then I have salt. You can use whatever kind of salt you have at home. And I need a half a teaspoon of salt. Add that to my cup. Cumin. Cumin is kind of, think of it as a spice that's in a lot of Mexican foods. When I cook with Mexican foods, or sometimes Indian food too has cumin in it. It has a really bold flavor. You probably have, when you smell it, you'll recognize it. It definitely adds a lot of flavor to something. So, a quarter teaspoon of cumin. And it's only a quarter teaspoon because it has a lot of strong flavor. And then garlic. We're gonna do a teaspoon of garlic. Again, if you feel like that's just more than you want to put in, you can adjust these amounts. All right, so these are my seasonings. I just want to go ahead and mix them up. All right, so I have my seasonings in my cup, and now I want to go ahead and get this sprinkled over the top and then mix it around again. So I have new gloves. Rip when I put them on. All right, let's see. And I'm going to go ahead and do this the same way that I did it the last time. I'm going to put part of it onto this cookie sheet, just to spread it out. Like I said, just because my bowl probably isn't quite big enough. I'm going to put half of it on there, and then go ahead and sprinkle some of my seasoning in there and some on here. And then, just like before, a really good flavor, or not flavor, smell. Put this back in here. All my pieces. All right. And there I have my Buffalo Ranch popcorn. Okay, so I'm back. I'm ready to do round 2. So now I'm going to do my sweet popcorn. And for that one, I'm doing a s'mores. So I have my pre-popped popcorn again, the same amount that I had before. And then we're going to add to that everything that would normally be in a s'more. We're going to add some graham crackers. We're just going to crush those up in our hands. We're going to add some chocolate, and we're going to add some marshmallows. So the biggest or the hardest thing about this one is we need to melt our chocolate. We want that chocolate to be melted. We're going to drizzle it over the top of our popcorn just to help our popcorn clumps stick together a little bit and just to coat them. So I have my bowl, and I did wash it out after using it with the butter and the buffalo sauce because I didn't want the buffalo sauce in my s'mores. So I'm going to go ahead and melt. I have a bag of, and I chose milk chocolate chips, Hershey's milk chocolate chips, just because I felt that was the most like a s'more. You can get dark chocolate, whatever you want, right? This is your popcorn, so you could even do a mixture of different kinds. You could do white chocolate mixed in there too, but I wanted mine to be more traditional. So I put that into my bowl. I'm gonna have to microwave this to get it melted. And a trick for microwaving chocolate chips is to add a little bit of shortening or Crisco. And I buy it in a stick form, but it also comes in a tub. And you just wanna put about a tablespoon in there. And what that will do is it helps it not get clumpy. It stays nice and has a much smoother consistency, and it doesn't change the flavor at all. So just like the way I cut that butter before, so on the sides, like I said, for at home, I just always buy the sticks because I think that they're easier to work with, but it has my amounts on the side. So I would just go ahead and cut the amount that I need. And I just want a tablespoon. I just put that in there. And then when I melt it, that's going to get mixed in. It's going to make it a little bit, like I said, a little bit smoother. It won't be as clumpy. It's just a nice little thing to add to your chocolate when you're melting it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. You know how this works if you watched any of my other videos. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera, melt the chocolate, and come back. The way I'm going to do that, I'm going to pop this in the microwave, and I'm going to set my timer for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, I'm going to stir it around and put it back in. Now, after that first 30 seconds, there's not going to be very much change, but then I'm going to switch to 20-second intervals and take it out every 20 seconds and stir it. You don't want to over melt it, okay? Because that will change the consistency of your chocolate. It will dry it out. So once it gets nice and melted and you can stir it around nice and easily, that's when you want to stop. All right, so I will be right back with some melted chocolate. My chocolate is nice and melted and will be nice for drizzling. So what I want to show you, I'm going to show you another trick right now. So I have a Ziploc bag, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put that chocolate into this Ziploc bag. And you can also use, if you have a pastry bag, like for frosting cakes, you can use those too. But this is a nice, simple way to do it. My bag's a large side, but even a smaller bag would work, so it doesn't even have to be this big. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this chocolate into here, and I'll show you why. This is a job that's much easier if you have another pair of hands. So if you have somebody around that wants to help you in the kitchen, having one person hold the bag and one person hold the bowl makes things a lot less messy. You're gonna see why, I have a feeling. Another thing that I sometimes do at home is I would take this bag and put it inside of like if I have a large cup or a bowl, so that can act as my other set of hands. All right, but you can see, I'm kind of making a mess. So ask for help on that part. Make your life a whole lot simpler. So I have that in there. I'm just going to go ahead and seal it up. All right, ready for part 2. So what you want to do with this chocolate now that it's in this bag is I want to get it all down to one corner. And once I do that, I'm going to have a bag that I can use. I'm just going to cut that tip off, and then I can drizzle it. So again, you can see why if I put this into a cup, how it would just have all gone down to the bottom, and it would all be right where I want it to be. All right, now my popcorn. I have my cookie sheet. I have a new clean piece of parchment on there. Let me go ahead and put on my gloves since I'm going to be touching it. And then I'm going to spread my popcorn out onto this tray. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put my popcorn on here. All right, I had left some in the bowl. Now I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cups of mini marshmallows. I have 1/3 cup measuring cup. And so that means I need 3 of these to make 1 cup. So I thought, what I'm going to do, again, if I was at home, because I'm doing this at the library, I don't have all the things that I normally have in my house right here. And I forgot to bring some of this stuff with me. So that's 1 cup of mini marshmallows. I'm gonna go ahead and put those in there. And so now I know that this equaled 1 cup. It was just totally full. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this up. Sprinkle these. Put this back in here. So I'm doing 2 batches. So I've got the stuff in the bowl, just like I did before with the buffalo ranch. These on here. All right, how about graham crackers? I need 2 cups of these also. And now for these, and you can do this part ahead of time, but you're just going to crush them up. So I'm going to use my cup. I want some larger pieces because I don't want them to be too fine. So you can put them into a Ziploc bag and kind of hit them with a rolling pin, but then they get a little bit too crushed. So I'm just breaking them by hand. So just by looking at that, if I do 1 of these packages, pretty much equals 2 cups. And once I sprinkle it out, some of those pieces were a little big. I'll just break those up. All right, so what's next? Next, we're gonna go ahead. Remember I told you we're gonna cut the end of this bag. So I'm gonna cut the end of this bag. And that, make sure it doesn't go in your popcorn. That's gonna give me the ability to be able to drizzle. And by drizzling, what that means is, see how it's just coming out in a long, thin stream. Okay, so I want to make sure I get some over here. Move this over this way. Now, as this chocolate, so this chocolate I melted, remember? And it started off that it was chocolate chips. So as this chocolate cools, it's going to go back into solid form. So it became, it turned into like a liquid form when we melted it, but it's going to harden back into a solid. So what I want to do is I want to get as much of this chocolate on here as I can, because I think chocolate is the best part. And you could, at this point, if you could even add some extra chocolate chips if you wanted to. Again, that's up to you. You can get creative. You could add some pieces of candy bar in here. Cut up some Twix or some Rolos, maybe even some Reese's peanut butter cups. Add those in there for a kind of a decadent s'more. All right. Now, while that chocolate's still hot, or it's not hot, while it's still warm enough that it's not solid, I'm gonna go ahead and mix it around, because I do want chocolate on most of my popcorn pieces. Like, I do like to have chocolate mixed in. So I just would go ahead and mix it through. And if you were doing this with caramel, this would be the time that you would take it to make a caramel. Like, have you ever seen those caramel popcorn balls? You can see how you could, with caramel, because it's super sticky, you could just make it into a ball, push it together, and have popcorn balls. if you look online, you will find so many different flavors that you can do with popcorn. So I did 2 today, but you can do so many more. Okay, so what I learned today is that making popcorn can be a very messy experiment. However, I think if I had a bigger bowl, which would have helped out a lot. Otherwise, I think next time I might even split it into 2 batches and do half of it at one point, because this makes it easier to mix together. But it turned out great. It smells terrific. The buffalo ranch definitely has that buffalo kick. And then the sweet one is my favorite, just because I like, I would take sweet over the savory if I had a choice. So I thank you for joining me today. Check out our library website, crownpointlibrary.org, where you'll find other great resources. And if you haven't watched any of our videos previously, there are other videos on our YouTube channel, and there's other cooking demonstrations. As always, I would love to know what you guys are making, what you're doing, how you're changing it or making it your own. So feel free to send me a message through Facebook or stop by the library and chat. Take care and have a great day.